Such a goob. Oh my God, y'all, this is hilarious. I was literally tapping my screen on my laptop, go live, because I'd already hit tap on my phone to go live on Instagram. But welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Empowered Conversations. I am through the roof, as I always am, excited about my guest this week. Empowered Conversations is where I have these amazing conversations with extraordinary people who are out doing beautiful things in the world in service to others and just all around living their best lives. And that is none other than my guest today, Jean Dorff. Jean is a personal life and career coach. And actually, I got to add him. I need to add him to the. I'm so discombobulated. Wait, hold on. Okay, I need to add Jean. Okay, there he is. Okay, I am adding John Dorff. Dorff. Okay. Hey, John, did you accept my follow request? It's not allowing me to add you to Instagram. Follow back. If you can hear me, follow back. And this is what we go through like all the time in the beginning. Please don't give up, guys. This is going to be a phenomenal, outstanding episode. Just have a little bit of patience. So I can add Jean to the Instagram. RR. No, it's FF. There we go. Nope. Am I not spelling it right? Yeah, DORFF. Jean, are you following me back on Instagram? All right. Anyway, all right. So let me go ahead and introduce Jean. So, Jean is a personal life and career coach and best-selling author of Broken Silence, Living with Passion and Purpose After Sexual Abuse. He is also the co-founder of A Dancer's Movement to Stop Sexual Abuse. Jean has been a successful international martial arts competitor and ballroom dancer. He developed an interest in movement at an early age, exploring the concept of conscious movement, a term he developed to describe a connection of rhythm and movement with mind, body, and soul. Even more than his professional background, it was his personal ordeals that gave him the drive to empower people to overcome their negative experiences and live the life they want and desire. John is a victim of sexual abuse and domestic violence himself. Jean pledged to fight the battle against sexual abuse and domestic violence and made it his personal mission to demonstrate how he became, as he calls it, unbroken and help others. I'm unbroken. Let me unbreak you is his motto. All right, all right, everybody, drum roll, please, and help me in welcoming Jean Dorff. Hey, Jean, did you follow me back on
Yeah,
Instagram?
I did. I
Okay,
did.
all right. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to add you, because it's not
I
adding.
see you live
Oh, there you are!
on.
Yay, there you are. Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, zippity doo. Now you're gonna have to accept the invite.
Yeah. So
So, thank you
join the
so
room.
much.
Boom.
Yay! There he is, everybody.
There
Okay,
he
yeah,
is.
now there's an echo. Can you turn the volume down on your phone?
The
All the way down?
volume is down on
And
my
I've got
phone.
mine.
Boop.
There we go. Okay, mine went up too. Anyway. Um, again, thank you. Thank you so much for
Hear you
joining
people
me.
on Instagram, but I'm looking
Woohoo!
at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop,
too
whoop.
much technology for me to handle, Stephanie. But so good to be with you here.
Yes, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you. It's amazing how what all has been able to come about through, through connecting online, and that's how I met Irene, and now I've met you, and it's just this has just been such a beautiful experience and a way to really connect with so many more people, and so. Jean, I'm going to read something from your book.
Please
Um,
do.
yes, absolutely. Broken Silence, guys. It's really an outstanding, beautifully written book. Although each story is unique, the outcome for the lives of sexual abuse and domestic violence victims is similar. The results are too often a messed up life with a long struggle to find balance, a hard time to maintain good and deep relationships, and the ongoing search to have confidence, to feel self worth, and to go through life with trust, free from fear, and with a sense of freedom. Jean, we're going to get into your story. I know you were 7 years old when this sexual abuse with your uncle started. My first question for you is, you are so accurate with how you share that perspective in that paragraph. What was it for you? Because you could have gone into victimhood. You could have become an abuser yourself, but you chose to go, boom, like a fish out of water. You flopped with perspective and realize, I'm worthy, I'm valuable, I love myself, and I'm going to help others. So what transpired to create that for you?
Well, great question, Stephanie. Thanks again for having me on your show. I think you're doing great work and giving me the opportunity to talk about this topic because it's not one of the most popular topics actually to talk about. So, Stephanie and I will probably try to bring it with some lightness as well, although it's a very serious, profound topic that we need to
Yes.
address. And you said that I didn't fall into victimhood and didn't become an
Mhm.
abuser. I could have done that, but I think if it, and that's the realization when I made this book, I could have really easily portrayed myself either as a hero and then everyone out there is bad, or I could portray myself as a victim and look at
Mhm.
what happened to me. But actually, unfortunately, I hit all the boxes too. I was definitely for a time I was a victim, and the fact that I call it unbroken doesn't mean that you're healed. There is no such thing as healing from trauma. There is coping with trauma, and there is
Right.
doing great things despite of your trauma, and sometimes
Yeah.
because of your trauma. And there are days that I do feel like a victim, and I'm sure, and the people who listen to us and maybe later on who have met me over the years might actually felt a little bit abused by what I did. I didn't do an abuse like rape maybe, or
Mhm.
maybe something bad like that, but I think I just became a little bit weird of what I've been through, and maybe that was even an excuse. Maybe I would have been weird even without all that stuff that I've gone through.
Celebrate your weirdness.
I celebrate my weirdness, but I'm sure and it's coming on in later on in the part of the book as well. I'm sure I paint people that I loved tremendously. And it's not maybe because of what I went through, but maybe it is, right? Maybe it is because
Mhm.
of that. So no, I didn't only flip flop to the other side. But to answer your question, it started actually at I actually really know the situation when I started to see something has to change. And it came in very young. And I would love to make that a really story about insightful. And I read 1,200 books and now I found it. It actually, I almost call it like a divine intervention. And I had a few of those, and whether that's coming from a God that you believe in or the universe, it doesn't really matter so
Mhm.
much to me, to be honest. I have my own beliefs, and I hope you have yours. But I felt that, I started to run my life from a point of hatred, and I was angry all the time. And
Yeah.
I was just sitting down. I said, that's no way of living. There's no way that I can produce anything good from this point of view. I started to see that I derailed the things that I was. Oh, I was very retreated, very alone, and on my own. So that was around my very close to my 18th birthday. I was still 17. So I was relatively young when I started to see that. Now, that doesn't mean that the next day I was, "Ooh," and I had a
Exactly.
halo around my head. That took,
Yeah.
that took a few times. And these things had to come back until I found means to do that in a way that it hopefully also helped other people, which actually came in a later point in time that I had an insight that said, you know what? There's so much talk about self love and you need to take care of yourself. But self-love can only exist if you first know how to love someone else. And I think there's a lot of talk
Okay.
the other way around. You
Hmm.
need to love
Yes.
yourself first, and then you can love someone else. And I am completely against that. And I hope people challenge me today around that, because I found out that if you don't put your life in service of other people, no matter what you have been through, what is life truly worth? If you don't put your life in service of other people, what is life really worth? So I said, okay, I have all this burden, but does that mean that I cannot mean something for someone else?
Right.
And I did not know what it was. I mean, it doesn't have to be save the world, although that's a little bit jar. He wants to save the world and reach, like you, I want to reach millions of people. But it could be just helping
Yes.
the neighbor. I mean, it doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly.
Don't be always
Exactly.
as crazy
Exactly.
as Stephanie and Jean. We are just crazy, you know,
Yeah.
media people. That's a little bit us, but it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be like that. And
Right.
but it is, and that was hard because the world was ugly to me,
Yeah.
and but I'm still part of the same ugliness, and that's a weird realization that even my abuser is still part of me too. That's a weird
Right.
that's a weird realization, and my book is hopefully very open to that. Actually, my book was much thicker before I published it, and my publisher said you need to be a little bit more honest. I said, "What? Are you crazy? I'm super honest." I said, "Well, it could not have been all ugly." Yeah, it
Right.
was super ugly. And then I had to
Right.
write also that there were moments actually that I liked to hang out with my abuser. He was at times very nice to me.
Hmm.
And that brings in the shame. And the shame is the biggest part why people cannot talk about their abuse.
Hmm.
Because there is this weirdness that we have with our abusers. There is no way that I condone or try to say something good about what he did to me,
Right.
but that doesn't make him bad altogether.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it really does because he was a hurt person. And
Probably.
y'all, and I know you shared with me prior to us coming on live, is that it was very highly suspected that, and almost certain that he was as well sexually abused. Again, it's not given an excuse,
Not at all.
but it's certainly creating those neural pathways that may elicit that same behavior as being a perpetrator upon others. And you and I were talking about what rape actually is. And I do want to challenge you. Hey, Siobhan. Hey, John Corbellini. And hello, Camille Tyler. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Um, but I do want to challenge you a little bit because I personally, in my personal experiences, that you treat others how you feel about yourself. Okay, so I feel like it does start with loving oneself, but loving oneself is not, when you truly love yourself, you are doing right by yourself. Like, for instance, how you fuel and feed your body, like how you take care of yourself, what you choose to watch, read, who you choose to be around. And
Yeah,
that can't all be perfect. I get it. I get it. But it's like, I treat others how, because I think energy is a boomerang. Like, I'm very spiritual, not religious. I'm all about universe and energy, and I think energy is a boomerang. And I think whatever energy I'm putting out, which comes from my soul and my heart, is something that I'm giving to others, and then is equally can be reciprocated.
true.
Yeah.
I definitely
So,
agree with that. Yeah, no,
yeah.
no way, no way that I don't. And I hear what you say. I mean,
Mhm.
I know. I like to be a little bit provocative, and
I love it. Hey, please be as
I like
provocative as you
to
want.
debunk things that are so commonly said, like love yourself first before you love someone else. But here's the thing, right? And doesn't mean me right and you wrong or the other way
Right.
around. It's just another way of looking at things. So,
Mhm.
say you and I are, Stephanie, you and I are in a relationship.
Mhm.
I know best how I love by how you react to me. Does that make sense? I
Yes.
need someone else to see
Mhm.
how I love, but because this is where abused people often go wrong, their self-worth has gone down so much down that they feel
Mhm.
they have to build it up first before I can love someone else. But
I
then
see.
but then there's no measurement, there's no
Right.
reference. But you're a good friend. You honestly react to say, hey Sean, I know you're a good friend, but actually you stood me up a few times ago.
Mhm.
That's not actually how you treat a friend. It's not a judgment. It's just I'm just saying how I feel
Exactly.
about how you treated me. Oh, also I need to love. See, I learn my love language to
Yeah, love
you
language.
through you. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If I
Yes.
have no one else and am in a vacuum thinking, oh, I need to build up all my strength and word first before I can go out,
Before I get that. I
that's the
do
point.
get that.
That's the point. The rest, I'm all with you. And
Mhm.
you have not been to that chapter in the book yet. I write about the five life energies. I'm all
Yeah.
so. I think we have more things to talk about than we can possibly cover in one
I
episode
know,
of
you'll
this
be back.
podcast. And you will be
There's
on
so
my
many people I'm
podcast. So
like,
we just switch
yeah.
sides, and then I'll interview you. And but that's actually what I mean. I say it very provocative because it just it's just that I just say you don't need to love yourself first before you love someone else. And it is also true for abused people, because
Mhm.
for a long time I did not love myself,
Right.
Stephanie. I didn't even know that I did not love myself. But that doesn't mean that I cannot put love to the one that I'm in a relationship, or to my kids, to my parents. It's a little bit harder sometimes.
Mhm.
But even if you don't love yourself, it's still not an excuse to not love someone else in the right way,
Or to
or to
treat
treat them.
them.
Treat them.
Yeah.
See, and that's where abuses sometimes go wrong. They might have been, and that might not be a conscious choice, by the way. That could be just cross-wired or something. Is that they have feel that the world treat me bad, so I can
Mhm.
treat someone else bad. So you need to lock in some really good, solid life principles. And who am
Mhm.
I to say what's a good life principle?
Core
But I
values.
core values,
Mhm.
and that is sometimes hard to accept, especially when you have been through tremendous trauma like sexual abuse or domestic violence. But
Mhm.
so if you only operate from the feelings that you have and the emotions that you have, you won't get there. See, that's why I started Dorff coaching, to teach them people about those kind of things.
Right.
And dance, I'm just throwing it all in a mix here, right? So that makes it easy. Dance teaches you how to express emotions. But I have sometimes students, but I don't feel so right well, that's fine. You go on the floor. I didn't choose to go on the floor, and you tried to
Right.
do a happy dance. So you better put on your happy emotions now, because it's a performance.
Right.
And there is an emotion for every situation, right?
Mhm.
So I might have had a little headache before I went to this podcast, but your audience would like to have an energetic and really feeling around this topic. So to really
Mhm.
say, oh, guys, yes, but my goldfish just passed away. Maybe we can do this, that would
Right.
be okay. Then you would say, Stephanie, that's fine. Can we then maybe reschedule?
Exactly. Have you
So,
ever seen the movie What About Bob? And this is a little
oh,
funny. Have you ever?
yes. Yeah,
Oh my
that's
gosh, that's like literally my favorite movie, one of them.
yeah,
And when he's like Gil, his goldfish, like
exactly.
so for his goldfish to die, that'd be a big
That
deal.
would be a big
You know
deal.
what I'm saying? So anyway, continue.
So does that make sense? So we have so that's one of the things that we need to learn, as human beings, but specifically that's where it goes a little bit off for abused people. Their whole radar is kind of like miswired in some way. So we
Mhm.
cannot always
Right.
express ourselves in the way how I feel in this moment,
Mhm.
right? That would not be appropriate. So I always take the example of a good friend of mine. His name is William,
Mhm.
and William is a vein surgeon. His
Yes.
operation time goes between 10 and 14 hours on average. That,
Wow.
but can you imagine that you are there on his table and he is
Mhm.
going to replace some cluttered veins in your arm? And he says, you know what, Stephanie, my goldfish died. I'm not feeling so well, but I'm going to try to operate you anyhow. What would you
Right.
say? I said, yes, William, I believe in expressing yourself all the time the way you want.
Right. I love your sense of humor.
You would say no. You would say, hey, come on. I said,
Yeah.
do you
You're not
feel
gonna be in the game,
you're not going
Your
to be in
head's
the
not gonna be
game?
in the
But
game.
that doesn't mean that William could not also, like me, be an abuse victim. It is
Right.
not always time to be in that
Yeah, I
role.
love that analogy.
Does that make
Yes.
sense? And sometimes, specifically when we have these topics, and I sit with a group of people who are all abused, and I think, okay, we are now just a bunch of victims. I'm sorry, I'm not playing that game with you guys either. I feel for you. I want to help you. We need to cry sometimes together, but we also need to go a little bit beyond that. There is time to be a victim. There is time to be
Yes.
angry. There's always time for everything. All emotions are welcome. There is no single emotion that is not welcome, but
Absolutely.
there's a time for everything.
And that's the thing, Jean, is that in your specific situation, I
Hmm.
know people who have clearly not even experienced near what you have, but use whatever, like use their previous life or what they've gone through to, as an excuse to not then be assertive about their life or not take, make effort to make all their, they want to whine and complain and play victim. And it's just like I have very, and it, me personally, just have little respect for those. But again, but because you have overcome and persevered, that you have more of this strength that maybe they don't possess, having not gone through as much. So I have to always also as well take that into
You do.
consideration and not
You do.
judge. But it's
Yeah.
hard sometimes.
Part and it's a really good point, right? Because I
Hmm.
am a man with I shouldn't say that as a coach, because as a coach I should, of course should say I have a lot of patience, and I'm not. So if someone
A
stands
lot of
to you,
right.
yeah, I have not, unfortunately. Yeah, patience
Yeah.
as in time that I want to spend with you. But yeah, no, you're right. So we need to understand, where is that coming from? Where, why do people, although they understand rationally
Hmm.
why they are in a victim role, or they deny it, they become very defensive. No, no, I'm not doing that. Why is it that people place it outside themselves and not inside themselves? Why is that, right? Of course, that's part of the things that I do. It's not so easy to understand.
It,
It's easy to judge because I get
yes.
educated, so I kind of become judgmental and get out of your funk and let's move on.
Well,
But
it's easier to blame. It's easier
it's
to
easier, yes.
blame and
Exactly.
to remain and
Exactly.
settle for that mediocrity as opposed to doing
Yeah.
something and taking action to
Right.
create.
80, if
Mhm.
not 90% of, unfortunately, probably not your listeners, but people are like that. They
Right.
settle for less that they are, capable of, and maybe that's a
Right.
good thing. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But one of the biggest drivers of that is not being able to tell your story, which is
Right.
one of the core things in my book. You need to be able to tell your story as it is, and not
Right.
like you and I did. We splashed it out over Facebook. You actually are in the process of writing your autobiography. A big
Mhm.
part of my book is that as well, and I can say it has been a bestseller, as you announced. But that's just how we felt we need to do it. And is there a little bit of vanity in there that we get attention and we show? Oh yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
But the process that I went through, to be able to tell that story and
Yeah.
to see how important that is true for everyone. So part
Yes.
of what I do, and it's not a commercial, maybe a little bit, but it is so important. And you don't have to do it through me, by the way. I just want everyone who went through traumatic experiences, especially domestic violence and sexual abuse, to tell the story first to yourself, in
Yeah.
all honesty. In all honesty. And that's a lot of crying and yelling and angry, and you need to become that, and then find someone that you truly trust, and then give
Yes.
them, find, you get a free copy if you want to from the book. Instruct the other one how to listen to you, because you're a
Yeah.
good listener, Stephanie. I saw that in your other podcast. But some people, they actually don't listen. They already want to give you an advice. Maybe it's not that bad, and it's
I
already.
can be I can be guilty of that.
Right. Me too, of course. You noticed that already, right? And it's already a miracle that we stop talking when the other one is talking.
I know. Fighting for talking time.
But it's so true that I have to put myself in a coaching role where I listen and don't come immediately with good advice. Yeah. So just
Say that
listen.
again. Can you say that again?
Don't just listen without immediately thinking that you have to give advice. Because if
Yeah.
I'm telling my story, I don't need an advice. I know how long it's ago, and I know that the guy who did it to me is already dead. It doesn't real because think about it like this: trauma in all forms,
Yes.
specifically sexual abuse and domestic violence, is in your body.
Yes.
You are your body. You don't have a spirit and a mind, and you are all that. It's a
True.
holistic thing. And
Mhm.
your body doesn't know time. So the moment my sexual abuse gets
Just
triggered, right, it is if I experience it right now. My mind knows that it is years ago. But that's a rational thing. You have to acknowledge when someone is starting to tell that story, these emotions come up, and that
mhm.
person experiences for that moment alone as if it's real. And that's where you can feel whether someone truly can tell the story, or like I did it like was a
Mhm.
third person, like a little boy happened, and then it's not me. You need to tell the story from I.
Oh,
I was abused. My body was violated. I was raped.
mhm.
The guy, and you gave me permission to it. The
Absolutely.
guy put the dick in my asshole.
Right.
That's what we need to say and be able to say. And
Yes.
that is not easy,
Right.
And there were times when he kissed me that I liked it. And
Right.
that's even harder to say because, see, you can almost see that I'm tearing up again because no, he's an ugly man. He should never, I can never like what he did to
Right.
me. There were times that he did,
Yeah.
that he
Right.
did things that
Right.
I like. It's that whole mixed feeling. And go do that first with
Right.
someone that you truly trust. Don't immediately write a book if you're not ready for it, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
that's your first step. And there are 5 stages that you go through. And then you can really take distance from. That's the weird thing, Stephanie. Then you can take
Mhm.
distance from it. But if you
Mhm.
immediately try to put something away, it becomes what I call your shadow part. Then it pops up at moments that you don't need it. You
Right.
cannot
Yep. Yep.
manage it because you can't. Everything that you persist exists, right? Everything that you
Absolutely.
persist will exist. So you need to embody it first, and strangely enough, then you're ready to
Right.
to
Right.
let it go when you need to, not being with it. So sometimes I just say, "Hey, abuser, I don't need you right now. I have to do a talk with Stephanie, so I'll put you on a chair. I mean,
Yep.
you're welcome in my life. You're part of my life. I'll pick you
Yeah.
up later." Does that
Right.
make sense?
Right.
You could do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
performers out there, if you're a public speaker and you have heart, just say it. Hey, nervous Sean, or
Yes.
nervous Stephanie, go sit there. I will pick you up later. And sometimes you see actually people, it's completely on a tangent, that after they did their talk, they go away and say, "Oh gosh, I forgot to pick up my nervous Sean. I need to go back and pick him up because he is also you."
Right.
See, the
Right.
shame is I don't identify myself through my abuse, but I also deny it. It's not
Yeah.
you. It's a part of you, but it's
Exactly.
not you.
Right, exactly. Thank you. And that's the biggest thing is realizing that that doesn't have to then define who you are and how you show up in the world. And to your point about our bodies holding on to trauma, literally, my girlfriend Siobhan and I were just speaking about this. And here recently, I've been working on some root chakra and sacral chakra trauma or healing, excuse me, healing. And it's amazing what is physically manifested in that particular area. I actually pulled down, and there's a lot, no one knows this except for Siobhan, now you, and now anybody who's watching, but I accidentally pulled a hookah down on me. Do you know what a hookah is? I had the hookah
Yeah.
uh, tube in my hand. I wasn't smoking it, but I had at that point in time, and I went to move and get up, and I pulled it down, and the coals fell on
Oh
my
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 gosh.
upper thighs and my
Mm.
hip flexor area, and the back of my, and it's like that is right in that area. So it's like, and I know everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, okay, so our physical bodies do um create, whether it was what I did to create, wounds in that area. I knew at that point in time, from a couple days prior, for something that I did, and I intuitively found that I was supposed to be working on root and sacral chakra, and then that was a physical manifestation
Beautiful.
of.
Yeah.
So, but to your point about, like, you are so like so honest. And this is what it's about, guys, is being honest, but being honest with yourself. And I read that in your book where you talked about, sometimes what he was doing you enjoyed, but it's like didn't mean that what he was doing, what he was consciously deciding to choose to do to you, wasn't fucking filled with just pure sickness and pure evil. And the fact that you're able to just own your truth, that's part of, everybody has a truth, everybody's life is their truth, and it's acknowledging that and seeing what can come through it, that it's part of you but it doesn't define you. And that's what I love
No, it doesn't.
and appreciate and respect
Yeah.
about your conscious decision to then create from a different place, one that's of healing.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. And we talked a little bit about the Me Too movement, which is great, by the way, guys. I have nothing against it. I just told Stephanie in the pre-talk that I on purposely took a little bit different route. And when I started this, Me Too didn't even exist. And to be honest, I
Mm-hmm.
wish that my organization was as big as Me Too, because then I would have whole different type of struggles. But the point is, and I think that you and I line up so well, is we are about empowering people, right?
Yes.
And I don't want to give more power to the people who did this wrong to us. That doesn't mean that I
Right.
think we need to do something against them and all that kind of stuff. But we talk about sexual abuse is often a thing about power, which might be true or not. But the point
Mm-hmm.
is that
Yeah.
the victim itself or the survivor is now convicted to a life where it's a struggle to come in their own true power and to become their
Mm-hmm.
own authentic self, as I call, and do the awesome things that we think that they should and can do. So that's why I call it living a life with passion and purpose after sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand a little bit the mechanics that all these abused people call every story is different and unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that my story is the worst in my work. I must say, Stephanie, if I think that I went through something bad, then I meet one of my readers and they tell me a story that I think, oh my gosh, no movie creator or author could come up with a story like
Right.
this, right? I met a guy who, at about my age, he was a little bit older, 11 years old. He was taken off the street by a guy and on gunpoint was forced to rape a girl that was probably around 10 years old. I mean, who can come up with a story like that? And then at some point in time, he got a hold of that gun. He was 11 years old and was able to shoot that guy. It's a horrible story. I mean, you cannot come up with the stories that I've heard in seriously, and it's just it gives me a chill. So it's saying that, well, chills in a bad way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so to tell that I went through the worst kind of abuse, I don't know. I don't care. What I do know is that these
Mm-hmm.
people who went, and it could be just one act. Don't ever think, guys, that if someone only groped you in the wrong way, that
Mm-hmm.
story is not worthwhile telling, because that could have
Right.
the same effect on you or worse as what it had for me with
Mm-hmm.
years long through. Well, because it starts to be almost be a competition now who had the worst story. That's not why I'm doing
No,
it.
that's not what it's
It
about.
could be
Right.
it could be one wrong feeling. Even actually research proved that if, for instance, a family member talked to you in a way that's completely not appropriate as a young girl or a young boy, could
Mm-hmm.
already affect you. And you need to get out of that chain. You need to get out of that
Mm-hmm.
chain. Even I, as a 7 year old, wondered for a long time, did I do anything to deserve this? Like
Yeah.
someone big there was there and say, you know what? Or did I do something that invited him? No, that's the. It
No.
doesn't. It doesn't really matter what your story is. Tell your story. Do it. Follow
Mm-hmm.
the steps that I told you. You want to go public with it, we can help you with that too. That helps other people. But important is to understand that there are a couple of things that you want to do in life that you
Mm-hmm.
are not doing because of what you've been through. If you do everything in life, you can honestly say in the mirror, there's a big mirror here next to me, and I go in life and say, I do everything in life, without hurting other people, by the way,
Right.
that I really want to do and put something out there. But there's anything that you say, I would love Stephanie to do this or Jean in life, but I am afraid to. I just don't know how. Then
Hmm.
think about it. Maybe there is a correlation to what you have been through and why you are afraid to do the next step. You might say, oh, that's maybe because I'm obese, but I can tell you, obesity has a strong correlation with abuse, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Over focus on sexuality for yourself has a
Hmm.
wrong strong correlation of abuse. Now, if
Hmm.
you are like Stephanie admitted to me herself, she's very outgoing, but that's her authentic self. But if you
Right.
feel that you have to dress in a certain way, but it is not you, you
Right.
should be okay to not do that. I'm okay with
Exactly.
that. I'm okay how Stephanie
Or
is.
if you right, or if
Yeah,
you choose to dress a certain way. And
exactly.
yeah, and that's what you and I were discussing before we went live is that just is you brought up like just because, like a rape victim, like a woman, a female who's been raped by a guy, oftentimes they're like, "Well, how are you dressed?
Yeah.
What were you doing at a party? Why were you drinking?" And I was sharing with you my own personal story. The first one of rape, where I met a guy at a party, and and we developed an interest. Liked him, and we were supposed to get together and go to another party like a week later, the following weekend. I was 18 years old, and I showed up at his house to pick him up, because that was, how we arranged things. And he's like, "Hey, come on inside first." And we were sitting on the couch, and yes, I was attracted to him, and yes, I was thinking that there might, and I might want to, take this further, like dating or whatever. Um, but he starts kissing me. We're making out a little bit, and then he starts to move my dress up, and I said no, and I meant fucking no. But he penetrated me anyway. That's rape.
It's 100% right.
Doesn't matter if 5 minutes before I walked through the goddamn door, I was like, "Yeah, I think this guy's hot and I would like to maybe pursue something with him." I meant no.
Yeah, even if you change your mind,
Right. And,
even if
and, what, and what did you
you,
tell? What did you respond? You responded with something.
yeah.
And I
I,
remember.
yes, I responded with something I do remember, and I gave you also the context because I do
Hmm.
teach this to younger girls, and unfortunately, I live in Texas and Dallas, so we have to be a little bit careful with the word. But you gave me permission because this is
Absolutely.
to say how I see it typically in those groups. Is say even if you had his dick in your mouth.
Hmm.
If you say no, it is no. And unfortunately,
Hmm.
most police take this wrong because they say, oh, you gave cause or you gave,
Right.
yes. No, 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 no. I don't know. I wish, by the way, that's what you need to say to yourself. No matter what moment of
Hmm.
when you are intimate with that person, you say no, even if you want to change your mind, even if you thought you want to do it, no means
Hmm.
always no, no matter what you did before. But the
Right.
shame is so big. That's why a lot of girls, also guys, by the way, but mostly
Hmm.
girls, cannot and dare not to come forward with their rape cases.
Hmm.
Now, with all respect, of course, to your case, but we also talked about that these are the stories that we talk about, rapists, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But most of the abuse cases happen in a domestic situation. It happened to a guy with a guy that you. So we often, if I, so I, I'm a martial artist, right?
Hmm.
So in a lot of martial arts courses, and I'm glad that they do it, by the way. So again, I mean this in the best possible way. Where we talk a lot about rapists on the street, the scary
Right.
guy,
Exactly. Like the scary guy who jumps out of the bushes.
yeah, with a
Right.
raincoat
Exactly.
and rape you. That's less than 1% of the rape cases.
Exactly.
The bigger
And
part
yeah.
is someone that you invited in your house with best intentions. That's a bigger part. And the even bigger
Hmm.
part is are all the other cases I already talk about. So the courses of self-defense, it's great that you know how to take down a guy. But I always say, if you meet a predator like that,
Right.
first of all, it's almost impossible to take that guy down. The
Hmm.
predators out there are very scary and they are there, and we try
Hmm.
to warn our kids for those ones. Now we should do that also, but the
Hmm.
bigger part, seriously, parents and siblings out there and teachers, listen to me. carefully here. The bigger parts of rape and abuse happens in situations it is very hard to see that it is happening, and we need to pay more attention. We just need
Right.
to. Don't talk
Right.
about these predators because yeah, they make good movies and I know how
Mhm.
to take them down, but it's almost never. If it happened to you, by the way, listener, that you met a predator on the
Mhm.
street, I'm very sorry because that probably would be a very traumatic experience. But I'm talking
Mhm.
about the other predators.
Right. And to your point of what you said, I didn't report it. And, after he was done, we didn't go to that party. I left and I was just like, what the fuck just happened? But I was telling a girlfriend about it, like one of my best girlfriends. She's like, "Oh my God, I wish you would have told me that you were going to go hang out with him because apparently," she said, he was at the beach and I heard a story that he raped a girl. Well, she didn't say rape. She said he fucked a girl passed out on a pool table or a table in front of a bunch of people.
Oh no,
She
my
goes, I
God.
would have told, and I didn't, if I obviously, if I had heard that story, I wouldn't have then pursued the following weekend to go hang out with him and take it and then go to this party with him. But it's like, so he
Yeah.
was a known, and see, and that is, it's a behavior. It's not something that happens just once. It's not something that no,
No.
no, 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 because then there have been plenty of other situations that I was in
Yes.
with someone where I said no, and regardless of how heavy and everything had gotten, they stopped.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Most guys
yeah,
do, and some of
yeah,
the rape
yes,
cases, and
yes, yes,
they
yes,
are,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
they are bad, and they sometimes people
Mhm.
guys specifically. Why? Let's be honest, guys, we do
I'm sorry, what'd
something.
you say?
I said guys do stupid things, so
Well,
we do.
everybody can do
We
stupid
do.
things.
We do. It doesn't make us always immediately a rapist, but I always
Right,
measure everything in scales, right? So the
right.
extremes, the very extreme is the predator, and then you can
Mhm.
scale it, go down. But the majority is always the people that don't go all the way there. But that doesn't mean that our behavior doesn't cause the extreme, right? Does that make sense?
Right,
So let's
right.
take a very political topic, right?
Mhm,
And let's take racism.
mhm.
If we talk to, I'm Asian, so we have our own racism. Trust me, we make jokes
Right.
about white people all the time. But that in itself can cause people who take that a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. And again, I'm not talking about these people who have a mental problem and are predators. I'm just talking about behavior that you talk about. Know that the majority always push out. There's always an extremity. Does that make
Mhm,
sense? So
mhm.
that can gives us people who say, yeah, but I'm not doing that, Jean or Stephanie. I am a good guy. That doesn't mean that there is not something in you. If you hear yourself, guys, making jokes about women all the time in a way when we're all together and drinking a beer, we should be ashamed of ourselves. If a girl comes by and the way we look at them and the thoughts that we have, we should be ashamed. You should check yourself. And I've been there. I've been the worst. I've been flirtatious. I've been, I know how, because I know how I am. I'm quick to word. We seduce people. The way we think about women as men needs to change for the majority of men.
How it's talked about. So, like, it is
How it's done.
natural to feel, an attraction or a
Oh, that's
sexual
of
desire
course.
towards somebody and to have those thoughts, but it's about the action of then voicing it to your
Exactly.
buddies or being disrespectful in your from your voice
Yes.
towards the woman, and the way in which society we are needing to we need to shift the paradigm in how it is that
100%.
women are viewed as just
A walking
their tits and their
CUNT.
ass. What
Yes.
now?
I said a walking CUNT.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can.
And but again, and it's like, what is the root cause of why? And I think a lot of that, and I think Irene and I spoke of this, is
You did.
shame around sex and sexuality
Yeah.
and the repression and the
Yeah.
suppression,
So,
and what that
yeah.
creates is just dirty and shameful instead of what sex is
Yeah.
something beautiful and blissful.
Yeah, no, there are big pillars in society that
Mhm.
have caused this, right? And one big
Yes.
one is, and I'm just
Yes.
saying it so you can all hate me now, right? Is is the
I
Catholic.
love you.
Yeah,
I think you're
it's
fabulous.
the Catholic Church. The way it was is sex is shamed. And I'm not saying that all everything in the Catholic Church. I just don't like the institute. By the way, that doesn't mean that I don't like the people in it, right? But the way they talk about sex there, as if sex is not from God. Well, if there is a
Right.
God and a God the way you guys believe in them, then sex is of God. I said that
Yeah.
on stage. It needs to be beauty. I love
Yes.
beautiful women, and I hope beautiful women and other women love me too for our beauty. But
Mm,
that doesn't make them an object. So, objectification, that's what Irene talked about a lot,
mm,
and we talked about a lot. Objectification for either men or women, doesn't really matter, but specifically for women, is a big cause of behavior of men. Now, that doesn't mean that once in a while. So, I talked to a guy who I really appreciate and everything. So, but he said, don't you, when you see a woman, don't you think, wow, I would like to share the bed with her? I said, yeah, to be honest, no, not anymore. I used to be like that, but no. Oh, you were thinking, I want to have a conversation with her. No, I don't want anything of her if she doesn't want it from me. Does that make sense? There is
right.
no,
Right.
that's where it goes
Being
wrong.
attracted to her is natural, but then I mean, because I can compartmentalize as well and really understand my
Yes.
feelings and desires relative to, uh, you know, uh, different situations. And the more aware you are of yourself, and the more aware you are, or the more controlling you can be about and compartmentalizing about your experiences, about your different experiences with different people or different situations. And that's why you have like that self-control, and he has it, he just hasn't cultivated it in the
No.
strength that
Yeah.
you have. It hasn't been his journey yet, but it doesn't mean that it can't
Yeah.
be his journey.
It could be, and that's where a big part of my book is how
Mm,
was how I went off a really in a bad path if it comes to sexuality. I have seen in the Netherlands most brothels that you can mention. I've been paid for sex. I've done it all, and I've seen it all, and I've
mhm.
seen the ugliness it, and I live with it. So it's not. Don't think that I'm a hypocrite and I try to walk the moral high ground. I
Thank you.
don't. I don't, and you can judge me for it if you want to, and it's a bad situation. And
Mhm,
know that sometimes it's like an addiction, right? Once
mhm,
you're addicted to something, you never get rid of it. You need to be able to control it. That part in me, which is, by the way, clearly proven that that happens a lot to sexual abuse victims, so that's my
mhm.
only excuse. But I don't have an excuse for really acting upon it.
Exactly.
the
Thank
urge
you.
the
Thank you.
urge is coming in me, and the urge is sometimes still there, but it took me a while to not act upon that urge anymore, and that is a constant battle. And that's exactly, Stephanie, why you started your podcast. That is why
Mhm,
I do the things that I do. Is
mhm.
we can change our behavior and actions, and sometimes, yeah, we have to deal with the emotions that we have because they are real.
And
And
hopeful and my hope, my desire is that it makes an impact and at least causes someone who maybe isn't in line with what you and I, how we live our lives, but that it makes an impact on someone that they go, "Wow, ding, 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 ding." I
I hope
really
so. Yeah.
it's like there was one of my favorite memes is one day I woke up and realized I didn't want to feel like that ever again, so I just stopped. But it's sometimes it is like boom epiphany, and other times it's a much longer journey.
It is. Yeah, no, it is. It is. It truly is. And I hope one day we have a generation that
Yes.
grows up with all
Oh,
these
yes.
weirdness, all this shadow in us. And of course, I know that's maybe in utopia, but you need to have some people who believe that they can change the world because those are the people that actually change the world, right?
Yes,
And
thank you.
and
Thank you.
and you are one of them. And because I don't wish anyone not to be a victim but also not to be a perpetrator, because I know the thoughts that you have in your mind, and sometimes I have them daily in my mind, are ugly. But my past is not always an excuse of what I do in the future. And
Yeah, or your
sometimes I
present.
slip. Yeah, or the present. And sometimes I slip. I seriously do, and most of the time I talk about it on Facebook when something went wrong. Luckily, the mistakes that I make in that area are not that disastrous anymore,
Yeah.
but they have been, and that's also a shame that you need to talk about because we have all been through it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to be a really good partner to whoever I'm with, my friends, my romantic
Yeah.
relationship, and I don't want them to feel. But they sometimes come across a guy. So how do you live with someone who's abusive? Me, I can give you a lot of tips, as you probably can, because yes, we are sometimes weird, and I am sometimes triggered. You know, and that
Yeah.
means that whatever I felt was always okay to do to me at some point in time on that day, I have to be that guy that says, no, not today. If that makes sense, because
Yes.
it feels like rape, although we are in a romantic relationship. So that's how far it goes.
Right.
Does
That's
that
how
make sense?
consciously aware and
Yes.
how not
Yeah.
just aware, but how
Yes.
empathetic.
It is your body. Remember what I said to you in the pre-talk. Your
Mm,
body is doesn't know that difference. So if you and I, let's make it a little
mhm,
bit weird today, right? If you and I are in a romantic relationship and
mhm.
we are making out, and I put my hand in the same way as that guy did to you years
Right.
ago,
Hmm.
you could be triggered, and at that point in time, you will say no, and that should be okay. I should not maybe immediately think, no, we need to go to relationship therapy because something is usually
Right. Exactly. She didn't want to have sex with me last night
yeah,
or yesterday
yes,
afternoon. Or
and that's hard. That's hard for a partner. It is not easy, but see the beauty of relationships that I kind of feel it, feeling like I'm talking to a new best friend, is that you and I feel is so essential in life. A relationship is so essential in life. We are made in these two different energies: masculine energy, feminine energy, and they're both beautiful.
yes, and
And
we
they
all
and
have
we
both.
have both, and they need to mingle, and they are somewhere
Yes.
along the line something went wrong, and you and I try to decode that, and that's the only thing I want. Whatever you do in that relationship, if both are really an honest authentic consent with it, be happy with it.
Right. I was just speaking about that with my last guest, John Corbellini, who I think may still be on watching, but is that, men, he says his, in, his experience is that men are, their emotions are repressed. Don't cry. Don't be a little baby. Don't be a little,
True.
and
True.
act like a girl,
True.
being a girl, which is discounting the feminine energy that
Exactly.
men or the
Yes.
male species actually possesses, as well as we as females possess masculine energy. We all have everything, we're all a part of
Well,
everything,
yeah.
and we need to embrace, and I think, and I say this, and I say it on just about every episode of my podcast, but there needs to be a curriculum taught in schools, every school system around the world, from the time a children can understand language to like graduate high school. It's an hour a day alongside arithmetic and spelling and history and science and lunch and PE. That's about cult, like so. I guess you would call it maybe uh not, it wouldn't be called personal growth or self improvement. It would be like life skills,
No, life
life
thing.
skills. But at the core of life skills is that understanding that at the end of the day is taught worth, self-worth, and value, because like yourself, and we haven't even started talking about the domestic, the abuse you suffered physically at the hands of your own father and your mother as well. And it's like, regardless of what someone is existing in at where they live, where they sleep at night, when they go to that place in which we spend 18 years of our life, 5 days a week throughout the winter and spring and fall, is that somehow we're taught that I matter, I have worth and value, regardless of my drug addict mom or alcoholic dad or my sexual abuse or physical abuse. And it's like, so you're cultivating that and you're growing with that as you're learning spelling and arithmetic and science. And I really think, I really think that would enable so many more people to grow into adults who
Oh,
were taking
absolutely.
personal responsibility and
Here,
self-aware
here. Yeah,
and
I've been
conscious
saying,
creators of
yeah.
their life.
I'm so with you. I have two wonderful children,
Yes.
and one thing that my daughter is pretty smart cookie, And she said that, Dad, why don't they teach these things that you talk about all the time in school? I said, the school system,
Phew.
if you
You
think
just
about
did.
it, right? If you think about it, school system has not changed. They
Mhm.
think we have changed
Mm,
technology. We know a lot about didactics and pedagogy, but we don't bring in the skills that you need to survive,
yes.
you know,
Thrive. Thrive.
drive and thrive. So, for instance, I said, can you give me an example? Well, I can give you a few. For instance, relationships, which is an essential part of our life. We don't spend time, maybe we spend an hour on a whole year about how to manage relationship. It's a really cool thing to do, actually, to have sessions, coaching sessions, and how to do
Mhm.
better relationship. I love to do couples. Coaching, I cannot call
Yeah.
it therapy because I'm not a therapist. But another thing is, dealing with money. We know
Right.
all the technicality of money, but just the energy around money, we don't talk about it, right? So we have
Money
many.
is energy, just
Money
like
is anything.
everything
Exactly.
else.
So we talk about these things. So I am with you. We need to reform that if we can. But before we want to reform.
And I want to go back to something you said just about 10 minutes ago or so. Not that I'm watching the clock, but you said something about this. You use the word utopia. And a
Hmm.
lot of people that I interact with, quite
Hmm.
often, they seem to see me as, "Oh, Stephanie, the way you talk, oh yeah, that would be great. Oh yeah." But that's not possible. And my rebuttal is always, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either
You're
way
right.
you are correct. So
Yes.
how you see the world, how you
Hmm.
see and stand and operate and choose to exist in is a direct reflection of what's going on in here. And I do happen to have this infinite, anything is possible. Anything is possible because if you've ever read the book, the oh my god, the science of getting rich, he
Yes.
talks, he's Wallace D
Yes.
Waddles,
I read it.
and
Yeah.
it's more than about money. This is one of the best personal growth awareness, self-awareness books you'll ever read in your life. But he talks about how as it's like, is that as a man thinketh, so is he. And there's a verse in the Bible, whatever ye shall um, want, if you believe, ye shall receive. And I do have this way of thinking, and it's because I believe it, it's because I feel it, that certain things could be a possible reality. Am I naive to believe it in my lifetime? No. But you know what? My motherfucking ass is going to plant seeds right now because of what I, in a hopefully 100 years or 3,000 years from now, could be this utopic existence. And if you
Yeah.
don't believe it's possible, great, then that's your thinking, but it is not mine, and I refuse to stop sharing my heart about that.
Bless
So
your heart. Bless your heart. I think you do that, and clearly, I don't. I'm with you 100% actually, and the movers and the shakers. We need to. I mean, that's what I say. I want to believe. I cannot stop believing in that because for me, that would just mean nothing. Then life would be nothing for me anymore. If I cannot,
right,
even if I would, I mean, I would love to experience it myself, to live in a world that you were just painted. I
yeah,
probably won't, but I would not give up the battle anyhow. Does
okay,
that make
yeah,
sense? So
$100%.
that's what needs to do. But there are two strands right here. That's an interesting one, and I think you and I just meet for a reason in that way. So
Yeah, I agree.
there's one philosophy that is more about you need to change yourself. So a lot of religious things, like I talked a little bit, not in a good way about the Catholic Church, but I can trust me also say a lot of good things about it. But Jesus, who is part of that religion, right? That's a person who believes in inner change, right? Inner
Mhm.
change, and then it will change. So that's a good thing. And then you have the revolutionists like Karl Marx, right? Who try to, on a bigger social level, try to change everything and then change the world. Now the beauty is these things they need to come together. There is a part that you need to change in yourself. Don't wait until the world is starting to change for you. You
Right.
can be part of
You
the too.
create what you create
Does
the
that make
world
sense?
change.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
and you
we
create
went
the
to
world
a whole
change.
different topic, but it's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
I know. I
It's
love
so
it. I love it. I
beautiful.
love it.
I love so beautiful because the only thing that I noticed, and that's my biggest drive. So some people ask me, what is the biggest drive of you? It's actually not per se the sexual abuse. because I don't even, actually, to be honest, I don't want to talk about it so much anymore. I wish I could talk about all the other things and how can you thrive in life and become the best version of you.
Yes.
That's what I would talk about. What I know this, and that was the first question you asked me, is what I should drive about this. And my good friend, and he has also been my therapist in the time. It's in a time said to me, and I had to hear it, and not to toot on my own horn or tap me on my own shoulder. Said, "Yeah, you have a tremendous power in you. Otherwise, you probably would not have survived what you have been through. And it's your constant talk that you are looking for people that needs to change, and they don't need to change for me, but I see the roadblocks that the world has given to them, but
Hmm.
do know that you are the one who has to climb over it, blow it away, whatever you need to do, go over it. There is literally more behind that roadblock. And abuse
Yes.
victims sometimes cannot see it anymore. And therefore, they make roadblocks for other
Right.
people's too. And that
Yes.
keeps the circle alive. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
So I picked a very small part of that big change that you talk about. And I wish I could talk more about the other things the whole time. But anyhow, I feel a strong drive to do that, and maybe in a way that is for me a way to deal with this stuff. But probably it is, right. If I would not work on this, I probably would go completely mad. Um,
Right.
so
And
that's
yeah, and like your heart centered reason is because you want other people to to feel to feel the healing that you have brought into your life, you know?
yeah, that's definitely what it is. And life is so much more than the lifespan span that I personally have. Life
Right.
hopefully continues for a long time. So I feel that in you, and I feel that in other people. My service can not only be for what is in my life. My service needs to be what's in the life of my children and my children's
Yeah.
children. And it sounds like, from a song from the Muddy Blues, if you knew them from the
The Moody
60s.
Blues?
The
Yeah.
Moody Blues, yeah. And they had a song, to my children's children. And but that's a little bit what it is, right? That is eternal life. Now,
Right.
in my wildest
Right.
dream, I sometimes wish I had eternal life, but I won't. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a legacy, and a legacy that
Yes.
means something for someone else, which happens to be, and I'm proud of it, happens to be a book. Book can
Yeah.
be still written even after
Yes.
Jean has gone long time, right? It
Yes.
can still be written, and that's a little bit what we need to do. And I hope you find
Yes.
you is not you, but because I know you're working on, but I'm talking to your
Right.
audience. Do that, and if there's one message that
I've
can
also got
bring
a
across,
picture.
yeah, can bring across is start telling your story first to yourself.
Mhm.
Overcoming your shame. If you don't believe me, look at every psychological research that's written on this topic of shame. And shame is a big thing that is caused by abuse. So start maybe with your shame, is if you are able to talk about it, not once, multiple times. Do it first to yourself, then do it to someone that you trust really well,
Mhm.
and then take the other four steps or three steps that I've written in the book, that leads you hopefully to a thriving life. Right. That's a
Yes.
little bit. That's the only thing that I want. If I can cause that today, that will be awesome.
Yes.
That will
And
be
guys,
awesome.
I mean, again, I am gaining so much value from reading his book. Just listening and reading another person's life story, especially in the relation of he's healing and doing good, even having had gone through what he went through, and that's so beautiful. And to your point, is everybody has a life story. Everybody, to be honest,
Everybody,
everybody probably has autobiography worthy or movie
absolutely.
worthy,
Yeah.
experiences. And you never know, through sharing what you've been through might enable, in some, might enable some form of, um, let's see, maybe not healing is the word I'm looking for, but say somebody has been through
Yeah.
what you've been through, and they've felt bad or disgusting or ugly, and then they see you being bold and courageous about sharing and seeing the beauty in it and going, wow, I am beautiful. I am amazing. I am love. I am love.
Yeah, you are, and you're worthy of love too. And so just I don't know if it's enclosed or not, but this is what you hear now of modern coaching, right? You need to tell your story and then show other people how you did it so that they can do it too.
Yeah.
That part is great, but you need to share your story so that
Hmm.
other people can go further than that you went. Because
Yes,
that is, does that make sense?
exactly. Exactly.
Empower other people to become better and stronger and go further than you can go. If I'm a teacher that only want to bring you where I am, I'm a lousy teacher.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to go through all the roadblocks that I went through so that you can do that and be further than that. So you can do your story. And if you do that, just it's just a mathematical truth, right? If you do that to someone else, they can go further again
Hmm.
and then again,
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
And that's how
Hmm.
the world and humanity can progress.
There really are infinite possibilities. Infinite.
And
Just
then,
like.
if you see that, that's the epiphany that I had. So
Hmm.
it's not about my story. But my story, if I only bring people to where I am today, that's okay. That's a good win, right? That's
Yeah.
something. But if they can bring it even just a little bit further, and they do it to someone else, and it's the same thing as like, I would love to save the people in Kenya. I do, but
Hmm.
why don't we just save the people just around us? And if everyone does that, everyone,
Then we are saving.
does that
Yeah.
make sense? So that's
Yeah.
what we do.
We are
We just
saving the
you're
world
talking to
at
your
least.
audience. I'm talking now to my audience, and
Yeah.
every time it goes a little bit further, and that's a little bit what we need to do. That's the only thing. That was the epiphany that I had. That was the mental picture that I had in my mind before I started to write this book. If that could only do, if I do only one person that can do that, the impact of that could be. Now, of course, Sean wants to be rich from it and reach million people. Seriously, I do. I
Yeah.
want that too. It's like I said, let's not,
And you'll
walk them,
have that
and we'll have that.
because money is energy.
I'm a blessed person in so
Yes.
many ways, and seriously,
Very
I
much.
do. But I really, we should become all go givers and no go getters.
Oh my God. You've read oh my God, The Go Giver.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
be a go giver. You
Go
can give.
Giver. Be a go giver. I'm going to
If
write
you
this as a
feel,
comment.
yeah, if you feel bad, do something for someone else who even feel worse. And I know I've been in a period when my dad passed away a few months ago, and I went in a funk for a while. That's okay. And it's not
Well,
always
yeah,
easy,
grieving.
and sometimes, yeah, I went even in a deeper funk. And we can talk about that too. That, by the way. Then we then we really have to stop, I guess. But anxiety and depressions are the biggest and fastest growing mental diseases in the world. Seriously, then you cannot
I
touch
agree.
any cultural where that is not true. And so there's a
Hmm.
lot of writing about it. But then also look at what causes depression, anxiety. Abuse, which is happening to 9 out of 10 women, is one of the biggest causes of depression and abuse. So do know, we talk now. This podcast is live, 1 hour and 7 minutes. That is
Yeah.
that is 67 minutes. Every minute that I talk, there is in
Yeah.
the US and Europe together is one new victim. We just
Hmm.
witnessed 67 new victims of abuse. So people, please wake up. By the end of the day,
Right.
do you know how many that is? That is 600,000 new victims, and that's only what we know. If I would do this over the entire world, I did that once, we probably talk very closely, and I can actually prove that, with my calculation.
Hmm.
With almost every second that passes, we have a new victim of abuse, and that is what we need to realize. And so we need to get all the other diseases out of the world too. But if you want to,
Right.
just from a health perspective, and think about it like this, right? If you just talk to economics, and I do sometimes, I said, we talk about productivity. Do you
Hmm.
know what it costs economically of people being in depression, anxiety? They are
Yeah.
not as productive as they could be. So if you just want to be
Yeah.
commercial, you just want to be corporate. I worked in corporate, as you know, for a long time. You
Yeah. Me
just want
too.
to have people who want to be productive and be motivated every day. You need to make sure that this get out of the society, and your
Yes.
production will go
Yes.
through the roof. Does that make
Yes.
sense? You want to have
It
more
does.
creativity, you want to have more love. This is where we need to start. And
Yes.
I can also almost proof that Facebook, the moment that I put a post in there and it says sexual abuse, it will be put down, because we only want to see happy people in the world, or
Right.
big disasters. It's either one, a big
And
disaster or happy people. But
and let's call it what it is. It's violence, sexual
and
violence.
it's violence, and it's violence, and it happened to me for more than 5 years long as a little boy who was raped over and over again by an adult.
His uncle,
Yeah,
so
with
a family
school.
member that he should have trusted. And my thing is with everything that I talk about is, what is the why? What is the reason? Because at the end of the day, it's not about, okay, yeah, don't do that, stop. But what's causing? What is the root cause that creates a mindset to where somebody makes a choice to uh, to to interject any type of violence, sexual violence, physical violence, mental violence? Why? Why?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like that there's this huge lack of power self power. But what created that lack of self power, that lack of that feeling of self worth? Because he must have hated his fucking self to
Oh, yeah.
do that
Oh, yeah.
ugliness
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you and your brothers and sisters.
yeah.
And when I talk about, the school systems and implementing a program that teaches worth and value, because hurt people.
Oh, they do.
Happy people don't. If he felt good about himself and he lived this great life, or wasn't sexually abused or whatever, he would never have done that to you, your brother, sisters. That's what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying. What is the root cause? What is causing this bullshit? That is where we need to dismantle, so the paradigm can shift, so we can 100 years from now, 3,000 years from now, live in this utopic way of life that you and I do hold in our hearts, that we think is
Yeah,
possible,
true. Yeah,
but
so
not
true.
next
So
week.
true.
It's not possible next week,
No,
but
well, unless this podcast has such an
oh
impact, like you
yeah,
have never know.
exactly.
That you and I are, invited next week by Ellen, and then go
Yeah.
live there and do
Oh,
the
I love her.
same thing again. Well, I'll do that.
Oprah and oh
But
yeah.
but you're right. So power is one of things, and the
Mhm.
miscrude way how we see our body.
Mhm.
There's some deeper way which I also kind of provoke people to, that you have a mind and a body and you have all these split things. No, you are your mind and your body and spirit while we're
Absolutely.
here. Maybe something miraculous happened when we die and then the spirit goes on. Who knows? I don't know it, but what I do know right now is that I have a body and spirit and a mind, and it's all one, and it all experience this
Absolutely.
one. And if I don't respect my own body, how can I respect someone else's body?
Thank
If
you.
I violate my own body, I very likely to violate other people's body too.
Mhm.
If I do that with my mind, if I do that with my spirit, and the ultimate word, and now it becomes really cheesy, right? The ultimate word is the true definition of love. Love is a verb.
Mhm.
Love only works if you work
Mhm.
for it. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yes, it
So,
does.
so there are many good teachers, and I'm not, in the train of, Christianity and stuff like that. But there's a guy behind Christianity who had really great ideas, and just
Mhm.
read about his ideas doesn't mean that you have to go to a church. If you want to go, right? But
Mhm.
Jesus Christ had
Right.
really good ideas around love, but so did the Buddha, and so did other
Right.
people.
Right.
I'm not
Thank you.
saying
Thank
there
you.
are many people who, and maybe Jean too. He's just not that big, and he has no halo. But anyhow,
You do, but we all do. We are all a part of everything,
exactly.
and that energy is love.
It's yeah, and so the ultimate thing can be found in those four letters love, and it's
Mhm.
incredibly powerful when you see that it is a word, and you like I said, you don't have to be per se loved first before you can love. It's harder if
Yeah,
you have
it
not
is.
been
Yeah.
loved. It is harder, but it can be a choice. And if you do believe in a God or a higher power, the biggest gift that He gave you, or she, or it, whatever, or they, whatever it is the power of choice.
Right.
Because if there was someone who did that all, and he would have created immediately a perfect world, probably choice would be taken out of there. everything, but everyone was super boring, you know. Super boring. You have a choice, and you have to make a choice. And you talked about, what is not being taught at school. What's definitely is not
Hmm.
taught in school. That is how to make choices. There are only three things
Right.
that really makes up of your life. That
Tell
is
you what
first,
to do, but not how to think.
yes, that is your belief system,
Hmm.
your habits, and the
Hmm.
way you make your choices. You get these three
Hmm.
things in your mind and know how to do them. I can guarantee your life will change drastically. Be very open to what you believe. For instance, you think that
100%.
a lot of people think that Asians are smarter than other people. It's a belief, right?
Hmm.
It's a
Hmm.
belief. Maybe it's true, but it is a
Hmm.
belief because it's not
Right.
true, right? And then the behavior. Behavior are the things that you do on a regular basis that you don't even know that you're doing. Those
Right.
behaviors I'm talking about, right?
Right.
And then
Hmm.
every time, I decided to talk to you. That's a choice, right? It's
Yes.
a choice. You can make your
Thank you.
choices. Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
make
Thank you.
thousands.
Thank
Those
you.
three things, get those under control.
Hmm.
Well, not under control like a
Just
frantic thing.
making a concerted effort, being intentional, and that's
Yes,
exactly. I was
I
having a
like that.
conversation with someone just last night
Yeah,
about choices,
yeah,
and the choices, and your life is a reflection of your choices. And if you want
absolutely.
something different,
Uh,
you have to make a different choice. If you're obtaining something in life that you don't like or enjoy, or is hurting you in some way,
make different
shape, or
choices.
form, or causing depression or causing anxiety, and I know some of that we can't control, but it's like, okay, like my girlfriend Siobhan, suffers with anxiety, and she talks about sometimes when she's having an anxiety, because through wanting to not experience anxiety and be in that place of peace, she has learned tools and taught herself how to manage anxiety through, okay, I'm having anxiety. Okay, well, let me, focus on this or think about these three things. I mean, yeah. So God, we could
Good.
talk for we could talk till, like, till tomorrow, and I
Right.
would love to have you back.
Yeah, I would
Um,
love to have you. I would
yeah,
love to have you very soon on my show. So,
yes,
guys, I saw on Instagram Live that some of my faithful listeners are there. So,
yes, I know.
I said,
Yeah,
say hi. And did you get any comments?
oh yeah. Well, so we've gotten several comments. I guess you can't see them over here.
No.
So John Corbellini says, "Hi, Stephanie, a Facebook user." So this is someone commenting from my private Defa Rick and Licious and You group. Hi, Stephanie McPherson. Siobhan says, "Hello, Jean and Stephanie." Camille says, "Hello, my friend." Camille says, "So glad I'm here to support you." Bingo, sister, bingo. And then Siobhan says, "That's been work in progress. Listening without giving advice." When you were talking about sometimes, we always, me and you, I can tell we always want to talk. Um, Siobhan says, "Steph."
Saturday.
Yeah. Siobhan says, "Steph, this is what you and I were talking about with your root chakra when I was talking about, and then Siobhan says, "John, thank you for sharing your story and being so honest about what happens." And then another Facebook user says, "So good to see you guys connecting on this." And Facebook user says, "I really relate to that story, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing." That's when I was talking about the guy who, when I said no, he penetrated me anyway. And then I wrote, "Be a go giver. Be a go giver, guys. Be a go giver." And if read the book, Go Giver.
It's a good book.
Obviously, you've read it because that's why
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Y'all, his book, Broken Silence. Broken Silence, Living with Passion and Purpose After Sexual Abuse. This is for anyone because, again, it's not just about sexual abuse. That's his story, but it's like, there's so much living with passion and purpose, and I, but and I chose, this is what I chose to be this way, or I chose, this happened to me when I was a kid. We can all choose
Yeah.
passion and purpose.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you. And God, we didn't even get to other
Oh my
parts of the
gosh.
book that I've like
No, but
outlined, and yeah,
one thing that
yeah,
if you start to live from passion and purpose, you
yes,
will get gifts from unexpected areas. So
absolutely, 100%.
my one of my chapters, and I hope you read it, and
Oh yeah.
it's chapter 7 about the five
Mhm.
life energies. And
Mhm.
here again, I can I can have long things
Well,
that I
let's talk about it. I mean,
Yeah, so it just was a gift
okay.
given to me to see it slightly different. I was always interested in energies and chakras and stuff like that. And and
Mhm.
one of the things that is truly violated very clearly is your root chakra is because of your abuse, right? So you want to go in the chakra route, that's where you need to go and clear that up. So it's either and chakra is either overacting or underacting if it's not in balance. So some people say, oh, your chakra is not working. It always works, but
Right.
it's underacting or overacting, right? And mine was clearly overacting. So
Mhm.
that's what it is. But so I didn't write the five life energies to replace the chakras. One of my good friends, he's a really awesome chakra healer and therapist, and so we come together. I just took a little bit different way of looking at your life energy, and that has nothing to do with abuse. I just wrote it from the lens of abuse
Right.
in this case, but I do it in many other forms where you need to, manage some of your energies really well. And one of the energies that has something to do with living with passion and purpose, and you can see that in this world, and that's really my thing, is most of us stopped creating and adding beauty to the world. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
We don't want to be original anymore. We imitate the whole time. We need to, if there is another word for God in my mind, it would be creator. Because everything that we can see around us that we truly think is beautiful is pure creation in
It's
this. And I
pure.
see
Mhm.
and I see creation behind you. You're probably an art lover.
And
Creation,
yes.
add something to the world. For some people, it's just writing a poet. For other people,
Right.
it's writing a book. Other people want to sing. Other people want to dance. Some people want to do it all. Everything is good as long as you don't hurt someone and you create. There
And
is tremendous power that you and I can add to the world by just go give some more beauty back to it.
absolutely.
Those were my closing words.
I love it. Jean, thank you for being on today. You've been such a beautiful amount of energy, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for being just so honest and vulnerable and real and raw. Real and
Real
raw.
and raw.
Yeah.
Specifically raw.
I love it. Guys, thank you all for joining, and thank you for those who shared comments. I'll have to get on and see who the Facebook users were commenting from the DeFi Rickinlicious and you group. So Jean, again, thank you so much. Tell Irene I said
I
hello.
will. I will. I
Yeah.
will tell her
And I look,
hello,
yes,
and I'll send you an invite soon. Soon.
yes,
Soon.
yes. Zoom soon. And you stay right here. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and then
Yeah.
you and I will close. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining Empowered Conversations. We will see you guys next week, or at least I will. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.